the idea was that you signed up for this, you were put in a group, and for 5 weeks, you met once a week and just kind of critiqued each other's work. And at the end of the 5 weeks, you were given a 15-minute interview with an agent of your choice, which I thought was brilliant. And so I actually ended up with an agent who was my number one on my list, who I hadn't sent any submission to at that point, because I just thought, he's the number one guy. And he was very damning about my book. He said, the first thing he said to me, was, you shouldn't do prologues. Prologues are no good. And I said, well, it's not a prologue. It's a letter about somebody's different world, As a result of that, I actually then changed the order. So you get the main chapter with Luann and her life first before you get the letter. And I did it that way. But then he was saying, dark urban fantasy, nobody's reading that anymore. And then he said, because of COVID, publishers aren't taking on any new customers. They've got a backlog of books that they need to bring out. So, it's no good even thinking about publishing for at least another 2 years, so you can refine the book for 2 years. And I sat there and I thought, why am I bothering, really? He was supposed to have read the chapters that I'd sent. It was obviously hadn't particularly read them. He said to me, if you want to know anything about multiple points of view, you should read something like George R.R. Martin. I thought, I have read George R.R. Martin. I know what he did. And yeah, so the whole thing was incredibly depressing, and I just felt so low afterwards. That what was the point then of being a writer? Nobody was going to read my stuff if it was about what was popular at the moment, which is what traditional publishers are looking for. They don't want a good story. They want something that's going to sell and make them money. That's all they care about. So I kind of sat there and I thought, well, I don't really want to be part of that anymore. Then if that's the way you're going to treat me and my stories, and that's when I thought, do you know what, I'm going to start self-publishing, and that's what I did.
You waited for those 15 minutes and they didn't have anything productive to say. That is kind of a bummer. I found myself in a similar position when I paid some money, and really all I got was just pointing out all the areas where I'm using not so productive language while not highlighting what was positive and what was productive. It's the novel we were talking about beforehand, and it was the way you presented your critique makes me feel like this thing isn't redeemable at all. Now, I'm not paying you to tell me nice things, but at the same time, it sounds like we had a similar experience, and therefore both chose Amazon for that reason. Ellie and I talk about gatekeepers a lot, and they're out there. And to be honest with you, this is always any of the stuff I do is supposed to be anti-gatekeeper anyway. And so there's no gatekeepers stopping Ellie from posting